You come home after a long day, open the fridge, and find that the chicken you bought just 2 days ago has already started to spoil. Annoying, right? In our daily lives, we're used to relying on fridges and freezers to keep our food fresh, but sometimes even that isn't enough. And what if there's a power outage? How long would all that food last? For the Amish, this isn't a problem they've been living without modern refrigeration for generations. They've perfected simple, natural ways to keep meat and other foods from spoiling, and their methods actually make the food taste even better. Today, we're going to explore these 10 incredible techniques that help the Amish keep their food fresh. No electricity needed. You might find a few that could help you too, even if you do have a fridge. Salt curing. Salt curing is one of the easiest and most reliable ways to keep meat fresh, and it's been around for centuries. The Amish know this technique well. They start by rubbing a generous amount of salt over every part of the meat, making sure it's completely covered. Salt is key here because it pulls out the moisture from the meat, and since bacteria need moisture to grow, this keeps the meat from spoiling. No moisture means no bacteria, which means the meat stays fresh for a long time, even without a refrigerator. But salt curing isn't just about keeping the meat safe to eat. It also adds a lot of flavor. As the salt seeps into the meat over time, it enhances the natural taste, making it richer and more savory. The process can take a few days or even weeks, depending on the size and type of meat, but the result is worth the wait. You're left with meat that's not only preserved, but also packed with deep, delicious flavor. It's a practical, low-cost method that doesn't require any electricity, making it perfect for anyone looking for a simple way to store food naturally. Smoking. Smoking is another traditional method the Amish use to keep meat fresh and flavorful for long periods. After curing the meat with salt, they hang it in a smokehouse where it's exposed to steady, low heat and plenty of wood smoke. The smoke works in two ways. It dries the meat further by removing moisture, and it creates a protective coating that helps prevent bacteria from growing. This extra layer of preservation means that the meat can last for months without refrigeration. Beyond preserving, smoking also brings out a unique, rich flavor in the meat. The Amish often choose specific types of wood, like hickory or applewood, to add a smoky taste that's sweet, earthy, and a bit intense. The type of wood used can make a big difference in the final flavor, giving the meat a depth that's hard to achieve with other cooking methods. Smoking requires time and patience, but the result is meat that's not only safe to eat, but also full of savory, smoky goodness. It's a method that combines practicality with flavor, making it a valuable skill in the Amish kitchen. Sugar curing. Sugar curing is a preservation technique the Amish use to add a unique twist to their meat. This method is similar to salt curing, but it involves a mix of both salt and sugar. By rubbing this blend over the meat, the Amish create a balance of flavors that is both sweet and savory. The sugar works alongside the salt to draw out moisture from the meat, which helps to prevent bacteria from growing and keeps the meat safe for a long time. But sugar curing isn't just about preservation, it also enhances the flavor. The sugar adds a hint of sweetness that makes meats like ham and bacon taste even better. This method takes a few days to a week, depending on the thickness of the meat, as the salt and sugar need time to soak in. When it's done, the meat has a sweet, savory flavor that's perfect for special meals and gatherings. This simple blend of salt and sugar creates meat that is tasty, long-lasting, and doesn't need a fridge to stay fresh. Just another example of how the Amish turn basic ingredients into something special. Vinegar brining. Vinegar brining is another clever method the Amish use to keep their food fresh without refrigeration. This process involves soaking the meat in a mixture of vinegar, salt, and sometimes a few spices or herbs for extra flavor. Vinegar is naturally acidic, which helps to create an environment where bacteria can't grow. By soaking meat in a vinegar brine, the Amish can preserve it for weeks or even months, depending on the storage conditions. What's great about vinegar brining is that it doesn't just keep the meat safe, it also adds a tangy flavor that's hard to beat. The vinegar penetrates the meat, giving it a slight kick and infusing it with a unique taste. Often, the Amish add spices like garlic, peppercorns, or dill, which blend with the vinegar to create a complex and delicious flavor. This technique is especially useful for preserving sausages and fish, giving them a bold, zesty taste that can be used in various recipes. With vinegar brining, the Amish turn simple ingredients into a tasty, preserved meat that stays fresh without any need for refrigeration. Lard encasing. Lard encasing is a simple yet effective method the Amish use to keep their meat fresh for extended periods. After cooking the meat, they pour melted lard, which is rendered animal fat, over it, creating a thick, protective seal. Once the lard cools and hardens, it forms an airtight layer around the meat, which helps to keep bacteria and air out. This way, the meat stays fresh for months without the need for refrigeration. This method doesn't just keep the meat safe, it also locks in flavor and moisture, making the meat taste rich and tender when it's finally eaten. The lard itself can add a slight, savory richness to the meat, enhancing its natural taste. When they're ready to eat the meat, they simply remove the lard layer and cook as usual. Lard encasing is a practical, no-waste approach, as the Amish also use the leftover lard in cooking. It's an old-fashioned technique that proves you don't need modern technology to store food effectively. All you need is patience and a little bit of lard. Use of root cellars. Root cellars are an essential part of Amish food storage, providing a natural, cool environment that helps keep food fresh without electricity. Built underground, root cellars maintain a steady, low temperature and high humidity level, which slows down the spoilage of meat and other perishables. The Amish use these cellars to store their cured meats, hanging them in the cool, dark space where they can stay safe for months. The temperature in a root cellar typically stays between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius, which is perfect for preserving food naturally. This cool environment prevents bacterial growth and slows down enzymes that cause food to decay. Beyond meats, root cellars are also used to store other perishables like vegetables, fruits, and even jars of preserved goods. For the Amish, the root cellar is like a natural refrigerator. By using the Earth's natural temperature control, they're able to store a wide range of foods without relying on modern appliances. This simple, effective method allows them to keep their food fresh and ready for use no matter the season. Outdoor freezing. Outdoor freezing is a straightforward and natural method the Amish use to preserve meat during the winter months. When the temperature drops well below freezing, they take advantage of the cold weather to keep meat fresh by simply storing it outdoors. The cold air works like a natural freezer, keeping the meat from spoiling without any need for electricity. To protect the meat from snow, rain, or direct exposure to the elements, the Amish often cover it with breathable materials like burlap. This allows the meat to stay dry and freeze solid while still being protected from moisture. The extreme cold not only prevents bacteria from growing, but can also help to improve the texture and flavor of the meat as it freezes. Outdoor freezing is a seasonal method, of course, and it depends on having consistently low temperatures. But during the colder months, it's a convenient and reliable way to keep large cuts of meat, or even entire sides of meat, fresh for an extended period. By using outdoor freezing, the Amish are able to preserve large quantities of food in the simplest way possible, using only the natural winter chill. Drying. Drying is one of the oldest methods of food preservation, and the Amish rely on it to keep their meat fresh without refrigeration. This technique involves hanging meat in a well-ventilated space, like a barn, where natural airflow and sometimes warm sunlight can remove the moisture from the meat. By eliminating moisture, drying stops bacteria from growing, effectively preserving the meat for months or even longer. The process of drying meat can turn it into a variety of delicious, long-lasting foods like jerky. The Amish sometimes season the meat with salt or herbs before drying, adding extra flavor that makes it perfect for snacking, cooking, or even gifting. Dried meat is also versatile. It can be rehydrated and used in stews, soups, or casseroles when they need a protein boost in their meals. Drying meat is a simple, natural method that doesn't require any fancy tools or appliances, just patience and the right conditions. The result is a sturdy, preserved meat that's easy to store, carry, and use as needed, making it a valuable resource in Amish households. Pressure canning. Pressure canning is a more modern preservation method adopted by the Amish to ensure their meat stays fresh for years. This technique involves placing meat in jars, sealing them, and then cooking the jars in a pressure canner. The high pressure and heat kill any bacteria, yeast, or mold in the jars, creating a sterile, airtight environment that keeps the meat safe to eat for up to 5 years. The Amish use pressure canning for various types of meat, including beef, chicken, and pork. The process not only preserves the meat, but also softens it, making it ready to use straight from the jar for stews, soups, or sandwiches. Since the jars are sealed tightly, there's no need for refrigeration, just a cool, dark place to store them, like a root cellar or pantry. Pressure canning is practical and reliable, especially for families who want to keep a long-term supply of food on hand. It's an effective way to make sure there's always a meal ready to go just by opening a jar. For the Amish, pressure canning adds convenience and peace of mind, knowing they have food stored away that will last through any season. Making pemmican is an ancient preservation method that the Amish use to create a long-lasting, nutritious food source. This technique involves combining dried meat with rendered fat, creating a dense mixture that is packed with energy and can be stored for months without spoiling. Sometimes the Amish also add dried berries or a touch of honey for extra flavor and nutrients, creating a balanced, flavorful food. The process starts with drying the meat thoroughly, then grinding it into small pieces. This dried meat is mixed with the melted fat, and sometimes with berries or natural sweeteners, before being packed into airtight containers. The fat acts as a sealant, keeping air and bacteria out, which helps the pemmican last for a long time, even at room temperature. Pemmican is especially useful for long journeys or during the winter when fresh food is scarce. It's lightweight, easy to store, and doesn't require cooking, making it a convenient source of energy. For the Amish, pemmican isn't just a preserved food, it's a practical, high-energy snack that represents both their resourcefulness and their commitment to traditional methods. There you have it, the 10 tried-and-true methods the Amish use to preserve meat without a fridge. From salt curing and smoking to lard encasing and pressure canning, these techniques have stood the test of time, keeping food fresh, flavorful, and ready whenever it's needed. In a world where we rely so heavily on modern technology, these methods offer a refreshing look at how simple, natural processes can still work wonders. Whether you're looking to preserve food for emergencies, reduce dependence on electricity, or just try something new, these Amish methods give you practical, hands-on skills you can put to use in your own kitchen. Thank you for watching, and remember to try these techniques at home if you want to explore the world of natural food preservation. With a little patience and practice, you'll be able to enjoy the same long-lasting, delicious results that the Amish have perfected over generations.